In an era where most first-person shooters seem to be intent on constantly upping the tempo, Metro Exodus is refreshing in its demand that you take your time. This is not a run-and-gun experience, it's a stay-low-and-go-slow crawl through some of the most atmospheric and detail-rich settings I've ever experienced in a story-driven shooter. With a storyline that sidesteps the supernatural themes of its predecessors in favour of focusing on a more affecting human experience, and level design that affords you significantly more freedom without ever giving you too much room to relax, Metro Exodus feels like the full realisation of this franchise's potential. Picking up 2 years after the events of Metro Last Light, the largely self-contained story of Metro Exodus follows the plight of main protagonist Artyom, his wife Anna, and a crew of surviving Spartan Rangers as they set out from nuclear war-ravaged Moscow in search of safe harbour aboard the train Aurora. That mobility brings a dazzling variety of settings we've never seen in a Metro game, taking you from snow-blanketed sprawls of urban decay to sand-swept deserts and lush forest settings, each populated by a healthy variety of deadly mutants and pockets of humanity both friendly and hostile. These levels are also far more open than what we've come to expect from the previous 2 Metro games, but that's not to say you won't spend a considerable amount of time exploring the traditional dank underground corridors. Many story objectives still require you to descend into the sorts of dread-filled subterranea that the Metro series was built upon. And thanks to a generational jump in lighting effects and high-quality ambient audio, they feel more ominous and claustrophobic than ever. Up on the surface, the larger sandbox-style levels relax the leash and let you sniff around with more freedom, stealthing your way through enemy camps and abandoned houses that can be scoured for precious resources. But even when you're out in the open, Metro Exodus finds ways of keeping your anxiety levels in the red by obscuring your surroundings with intermittent sandstorms in the Caspian Desert level, or introducing packs of snarling dogs in a forest valley section that can attack from any direction and have you frantically scrambling for higher ground. With factors like these in play, Metro Exodus successfully manages to put you in wide open spaces without ever giving you too much room to breathe. Metro Exodus does away with the ammunition-based currency system and weapons merchants from its predecessors in favour of workbenches and a backpack that can be used to craft certain items on the fly. I found the backpack to be an invaluable addition to the Metro Exodus experience, particularly since it also brings with it the ability to swap out weapon parts without returning to a base, allowing you to tweak your arsenal to suit each enemy encounter. Human enemies seem noticeably smarter in Metro Exodus, communicating with each other during a firefight and intelligently maneuvering around to flank. But it's the scraps with mutants that provide the stiffest combat challenge. The gunplay is nice and crunchy, and there's a broad range of mutant enemy types to tackle, from the humanimals that camouflage themselves in the desert surroundings and surprise you at the last minute, to the light-fearing spider creatures that must be weakened with the beam of your torchlight before you can finish them off. Each mutant type requires its own unique strategy to overcome, which means combat in Metro Exodus rarely becomes mired in repetition. Since so much of your time in Metro Exodus is spent on tense and lonely excursions away from the Aurora, the playable vignettes aboard the travelling train that bookend the main levels give you an opportunity to relax and bond with the rest of the characters. I relished the chance to get to know the crew a little better as the journey went on, and I became more invested in their individual plights as a result, even despite the inconsistent quality of the voice acting.
What do you think of this workbench, eh?
I also enjoyed pulling on the train whistle to literally let off steam.
That should be enough, huh?
Perhaps I enjoyed it a little too much. While bonding with these characters ensures that the plot delivers an emotional payoff, the lack of any main antagonist in Metro Exodus means there's no climactic showdown to speak of at the story's end. After surging forward with slow-paced yet sustained momentum for the bulk of its 20-hour runtime, Metro Exodus ultimately grinds to a halt as opposed to going out with a bang. I was compelled towards its conclusion by the strength of its story, and I was ultimately satisfied with how it resolved, but I can't help but feel that the most exciting moments of Metro Exodus are centered around its middle act. Metro Exodus takes the fear-inducing formula of the series and transplants it into expansive, sandbox-like levels without losing any of the oppressive tension that makes the franchise memorable and distinctive among post-apocalyptic first-person shooters. It's a frequently exhilarating and densely atmospheric journey across a Russian dystopia brimming with detail and deadly inhabitants, and well worth the trip for its consistently effective use of survival horror and hair-raising action. For more on Metro Exodus, check out 10 minutes of gameplay and the unboxing of the Spartan Collector's Edition.